Interest rates is what people were talking about if they were talking about the housing market anytime last week, and here's why. How's it going, guys? I'm Christopher McGee. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate, affiliated with the Keller Williams Market Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today is the 3rd of November, 2025. This is the Numbers, the Nuance. This is the video series you want to come to if you want to know exactly what Utah's housing market looks like right now. I sound a little different, a little bit like a frog, because I live in a petri dish with 4 kids, and they got me sick. But I'm here anyway. Let's hit these numbers. Anytime the Fed meets to make a decision on what is going to happen with interest rates, it causes some confusion in the market because it doesn't always correlate exactly with where mortgage interest rates are going. So let me just clarify that real quick. When the Fed cuts rates, they aren't cutting mortgage interest rates directly. What they're cutting, or what they're manipulating, is the federal funds interest rate. This is the interest rate that banks actually charge each other at the end of any given day in order to balance out their accounts. And it's true that this is the interest rate that most other interest rates are based on, so it will have an effect on mortgage interest rates over time, eventually, but it's not immediate. Importantly, the Fed meets only 8 times a year. They meet every 6 weeks. And when they meet, they're making a decision on what to do with rates based on all the economic markers that they've looked at across the last 6 weeks. By that time, the mortgage lending field has already taken into account whatever the Fed is now taking into account to make a decision on. Depending on the tone that the Fed president and the other governors of the Fed take during that meeting, that will have the immediate impact on mortgage interest rates that we see. In this last Fed meeting, they met, they decided to cut rates, and then the tone of the meeting was, hey, listen, everybody expects that this downward trend of cutting interest rates is just going to continue, but we see economic markers that make us cautious about that kind of a declaration for the immediate future. And so the mortgage interest rate field and everybody else who has their own interest rates to charge, which bases those interest rates off the bank's interest rate, the federal funds interest rate, they say, oh, so we cut rates, we already took that into account, what the Fed just did. Everything they looked at to make that decision, we've already done that. But they're saying they're being a little bit more conservative moving forward from here, so we're going to jump up our interest rates in response. That's exactly what happened this last week. You'll see that. You'll see that in the numbers, but you'll see that it didn't jump up dramatically. In fact, it's already come down from where it jumped up earlier last week. Let's look at the numbers. All right, here's where things are in the Utah housing market as of today, 11/3/2025. Our current inventory stands at 13,293. That's down a significant jump from the previous week. Still trending very level, but we do expect it to start a downward trend heading into winter. Last week, the average days on market came to 65. That is exactly where it was the previous week. Still trending up though, as we expect. Last week, average list price came to $862,581. That's up an uncomfortable bit from the previous week, trending up. Importantly, not at the pace that this week would make it seem. Last week's average list price came to $835,000 even, and so the difference between average list and average sold price came again in the buyer's favor to the tune of $27,581. Median sold price last week came to $553,450, which is up from where it's been, but importantly, $280K less than what average sold price was last week. So a lot more people having an experience in that 500K range than in the 800K range in Utah's housing market. This last week, there were 582 homes sold. That's up a touch from the previous week, but this is still trending moderately down as we expect heading into winter. Currently under contract, there are 4,701 homes in Utah's housing market. That's down from the previous week, also trending down as we expect seasonally. Last week, the number of price reductions we got came to 1,270. That's down from the previous week and trending down. Last week, the number of listing contracts that were either canceled, expired, or withdrawn from the MLS came to 835. That's up. We always expect it to shoot up for this first of the month report. I guarantee it'll drop right back down to the range we've seen it in the 400s next week. And last but not least, as we said, interest rates for a 30-year fixed rate conventional loan average out at 6.28% right now, which is up from its downward trend at the moment. And depending on evolving market data, I anticipate this either continuing a relative trend down or leveling out right around here for a bit. And that is it for this week, guys. Thanks for listening to my relative frog voice. If you have any questions about the way I present the data or how I get it, or why I present it the way I do, hit me in the comments. I'm going to be happy to respond. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the coming months, I hope you're comfortable reaching out to me. My contact info is always in the description of the video. I'm going to be happy to hear from you. And if this is the kind of data that you are interested in keeping your mind wrapped around, particularly if you are about to buy or sell a home. We make the best decisions with the best data. So if this is what you're looking for, you will find no better way than to hit that subscribe. Stay up on it with me from week to week. Thanks for watching this week, guys. Bye-bye, bye-bye.